Good morning, everyone. It's Howie here. It's Monday, December 23rd. Actually, good afternoon. Starting a little later today, the week of Christmas. So tomorrow's Christmas Eve. So this will probably be our last day of heavy politics for a couple of days as we cruise into this beautiful holiday. So before I get going, let me wish you all and your families and your entire circle of friends, relatives, colleagues, um, just a blessed few days to relax, become a child again. And thank you for your viewership recently. It's been really encouraging, and comments and participation. It's great. So we're going to get going right away. We're going to start with an article. Let me share it with from the Washington Post, and it's going to frame our conversation today in a really nice way. Let's see. Okay, so Washington Post, and it is written by E.J. Dion Jr. Okay, he's a long time. Let me make sure I'm sharing with you guys. Okay, perfect. And so E.J. Dion is a longtime columnist. He wrote for the Times for a long time. I'm going to get right into it. It's the Washington Post. I love that little subtitle they have. Democracy dies in darkness. Okay. Of course, the Washington Post is owned by Bezos. Okay. Make sure we're all on the same page. For a long time. I don't want to lose you. All right, there we go. Trump and Musk can't take away my hope in government. Trump and Musk. You see how they're constantly linking Trump and Musk. I can't just read. I have to fill in these little gaps here because there's so much in just even the way they title things. Trump and Musk can't take away my hope in government. You don't hear Vance's name, huh? It's almost as if Musk is vice president. Okay, but their last-minute attempts to thwart a bipartisan spending bill dampened my seasonal optimism. Okay, here we go. We all have our biases, and I'll confess two of mine. I am unapologetically taken every year by the joy this season inspires, and I'm often guilty of being a hope monger, a deposition popularized by former President Barack Obama. Isn't that interesting, right? Because we talked about Obama recently. This whole hope and change thing, right? Radical change and hope defined in a very different way. And the way as the layers unfold and we see from the Clinton campaign and Trump presidency #1, and then Biden presidency, and then the shift to Harris, and then even the loss, we see more and more of the fingerprints of Barack Obama everywhere, and it's not great. It's not a great look for him, and his legacy is going to start to turn. That's my sense. But they're going to keep going. So a guy like E.J. Jones, he's never gonna leave Barack Obama. They've been around too long, and he's been part of that circle of just praising Obama since day one. In that spirit, I wanted to greet Christmas and the start of Hanukkah. They fall on the same day this year, preaching the possibility of cooperation across our political divide to solve some problems. There is, for example, promising overlap between progressives and pro-family conservatives in support of public policies that champion parents and children, including a much expanded child tax credit. Then there was the original funding deal to avoid a government shutdown, chock full of medium-sized policy advances that had support from Republicans and Democrats alike. So right away, this chock full of medium-sized policy advances. You see, it's always, you know, of Republicans and Democrats alike. Now, we can read that and immediately say it's positive or it's negative, or we don't know. We don't know the details of all these policies. The famous, have they read the entire bill? Have they read the entire every bit of the policy? Do we know if they're good or bad? And we know there are people out there that are elected and go to Washington, and they don't have necessarily our interest first and foremost. They want to get reelected. Okay. The bill included provisions to help children battling cancer. As he says, hard to oppose that, right? Okay, here we go. Right away to the emotional appeal. So if it has to do with children and cancer, what else? What could tug at your heart more than that? And of course, what does tug at your heart more than that, and should? You watch those St. Jude Children's Hospital Cancer Center. I don't know what the name of it is, but St. Jude. it's hard to even look at it. Okay, so they're right. Who can be against children provisions that to help children battling cancer? Hard to oppose that, right? Hold that thought. As Sam Stein recounted in the book, one of these would have extended funding for the Gabriella Miller Kids First Pediatric Research Program, named after a 10-year-old Virginia girl who died from an inoperable brain tumor. Other provisions, as the Post reported, included measures to lower drug costs by reforming how pharmacy benefit managers do business, a crackdown on junk fees charged by ticket sellers and hotels, criminalizing the publication of non-consensual intimate material known as revenge porn, new restrictions on U.S. investments in China, and continued federal reimbursement of states providing benefits to the victims of food stamp theft. Bipartisan problem solving seemed alive and well. All right, so of course he's cherry picking. He's pointing out this bipartisan problem solving. I mean, is that what Washington's known for? I mean, listen to what he's just bipartisan problem solving seemed alive and well, as if that's the way it's been. It's been alive. Is that the Washington and I know? This article, the whole way it's framed. That's why I wanted to. And let's look at our competitors, our opponents, if you will. He's certainly representing the side that the opposite, the opposing side, if you will, in the political arena of what I most associate with. And if you look at it, you would get the impression that prior to Donald Trump being elected and Musk being involved, that Washington was just this beautiful place of cooperation and efficiency and getting things done for the American people. Isn't it possible that these bills are just loaded up with so much pork barrel spending that that's the reason our deficit spending goes on and on? The reason spending bills and inflation, the reason people are so disgusted with their representative, the reason approval ratings are so low, Congress and the president. But look, bipartisan problem solving seemed alive and well. Oh, everything's been hunky-dory, right? Then came along, here it comes. Remember I spoke about this. They're going to claim that Musk is really in charge. Musk is the shadow president, okay? When meanwhile, all this is to cover the fact that it's becoming very clear now, and people are starting to talk about it, and people are trying to save their butts. They're going to get it out in the open that Biden has not been in charge, and they've been covering for him. And now everybody's going to run for cover. And as that happens, they're going to charge or accuse or project onto Trump and Musk or whoever it may be that they have that issue. I was speaking to somebody about this the other day. I talked about it on the show, and one of the points that was brought up but not flushed out or fleshed out completely was the following: they are not only projecting it onto Trump that Musk is really in control, but they also are playing. See, this is always a strategy with them. Do you remember the debate with Harris? And Harris, Harris did well in the debate, and Trump didn't do particularly well. And one of the worst moments for Trump is when Harris questioned he said the sizes of Trump's rallies weren't accurate, and Trump got very defensive. There's that part of Trump where he gets very defensive about that kind of stuff, and it's a weakness. It is. Everybody has them, okay? And it was like one of those moments, like, don't argue about that. Don't take the bait. She baited him, and he took it. They're baiting Trump. Okay? Two things. They're just going to say that he's really not in charge, and billionaires are creating policies for Trump, and and Musk has taken over the party, and this plays right into the line that all Trump's policies are going to be for his cronies. There's a second component. They want Trump to hear this news that Musk is in charge, and for Trump's ego to be bruised, so that he actually does fight with Musk. Just like he fought back at Harris. Don't question the size of my crowds. They're trying to take Trump's weakness, his ego, because he needs that ego to push through all this garbage all the time and keep going. This incredible fortitude. The flip side of that is an ego. And they're trying to say they want Trump to read one too many headlines that Musk is actually in charge, and for him to actually get rid of Musk. They are so afraid of Musk that they want Trump and Musk not to get along. So one of two ways. They're going to discredit Musk, the work of Musk and the work of Trump by saying that Musk is really in charge and that they're serving billionaires, or Trump's going to take the bait and get upset and actually have a conflict with Musk. Okay. Then it came along a multi-billionaire who owns a social media company and seems to have the president-elect mesmerized. There's the language. If Trump reads that, that is Trump's weakness. We have to say, come on, we have to know our weaknesses of our star players. Yeah. So Trump is, yeah, I think he's really at this point has he understands their game, and even those around him understand their game so well. President-elect mesmerized. That language is designed to bother Trump. It is. Elon Musk denounced the spending agreement in more than 100 posts on X, many of them riddled with falsehoods. Any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill, he thundered, deserves to be voted out in 2 years. Well, there's Musk again. Musk, as a private citizen, can do whatever he can post. He can post whatever he wants, and he also can say that. You're free to say, look, we're gonna find people in the Republican primaries if you don't support our agenda. You may disagree with that strategy, but he's free to do that. Here's hoping we'll learn whether the original bill's provision about investment in China, here we go, where Musk has substantial interest, was at the heart of his fury. Quote, "It feels to me there were a lot of things that were not great for billionaires and corporations that dropped out of this bill. And I don't think that's a coincidence." Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, Connecticut, said Friday night he voted for the deal because it was preferable to a shutdown. To them, everything's preferable to a shutdown. Chris Murphy, he's another one. Oh, that guy. Okay. But you notice everything hunky-dory in Washington. It was great. The Republicans and Democrats were working well together across aisle. Again, that's not the Washington we know or have seen. Okay. Now, Chris Murphy, well, it's preferable to a shutdown. Why? Why is it preferable to a shutdown? All the essential things would continue. Okay. And here it is. It seems to me there are a lot of things that were not great for billionaires and corporations that dropped out of cronyism. Musk was against this bill because it hurt him. That's what they want you to believe. Not Musk and Ramaswamy and Dodge, and they want to get in there and they want their influence to be felt immediately, not just passing bills that have pork barrel spending. That's the general picture. So which one do we believe? E.J. Dionne, that it was everything hunky-dory in Washington. Democrats, Republican, seemed like the normal day, public policy pushing forward, helping children with cancer and fighting for the little guy, or Washington, where the spending is out of control, the pork barrel spending is so to the point where it's so absurd and ridiculous that the American people they've seen it. And Trump gets elected in this wave. He brings in Dodge. He wants to develop, and Musk is. Which story are you going with? Everything was great, or we needed to address this spending issue, and that's why Musk is against it. Do you think Musk is really stopping this bill, or tried to stop this bill? Doesn't have the power to stop it, but tried to stop it. Did have an influence on it, but at my point, he doesn't have the authority to stop it because he was trying. It was self-interest in the terms of his businesses and his money. I don't believe that. I really don't. Before Musk's outburst, Donald Trump had kept his distance from House Speaker Mike Johnson's labors and appeared ready to let the Louisiana Republican lead his troops into a peaceful holiday period. Perhaps Trump was distracted by the legal action he launched against the Des Moines Register over Ann Selzer's pre-election survey that mistakenly showed him behind in Iowa. Or maybe he was too gleeful over former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, Republican Wyoming, being groundlessly and unconstitutionally referred to the FBI for criminal investigation by Representative Barry Loudermilk's Republican Georgia. Her real offense, trying to unearth the truth about Trump's role in January 6th. All right, so those are two side issues. Okay, we have Trump is filing legal action against Des Moines, Iowa, because a poll that was put out that he feels was so off base that there was something not legitimate about it. That's just a quick summary. I'm not going into that. And the second issue, which is a bigger one, is Liz Cheney. That, the Representative Barry Loudermilk, there's a criminal investigation. Okay. Because she was free to investigate Trump about January 6th, and they're free to investigate her if there's a standing for it about her, and potentially was this investigation of Trump objective, and did it include everything it could? I'm not going to go into those two things. There's too much right now. We're going to need to keep going with the EJD. But Trump eventually fell into line. Here we go. More language to annoy Trump. Trump eventually fell into line behind Musk. All this language is to annoy Trump, ignoring the bill's bipartisan initiatives. Oh yeah, the hunky dory, everything's great. Republicans, Democrats working together. He ordered Republicans to strip out what he called Democrat giveaways, and just like that, a piece of legislation had been grazed with benign neglect was transferred into a betrayal of our country, snapping to attention. Johnson, see, everybody's falling into line behind Musk. This is what they want. That's their message. It started with Axelrod, right? Ajaya Powell, the other day, Congresswoman, she was going about the shadow presidency. Even the funding to help kids with cancer, that was thrown out too. At Trump's request, he also added a 2-year extension of the debt ceiling. The political motivation was blatant. Trump wanted to get it done now, so he would not have to sign the increase himself, and in doing so, underscore the deficit bloating implications of the enormous tax cuts for the wealthy he'll be pushing. Part of that's half true. They say the biggest lies are 90% true. He doesn't want to deal with that. He wants a clean slate when he comes in. So, it's half, but it's not because he doesn't want to get blamed for it. This is the way it's operated. This is the way they have operated. It's their job right now to pass this. He is not president. It's their job to do. They have to do their job right now. So get it done. Go ahead and finish your term, this term where I'm not president yet, and just get it done so I can come in with a clean slate. And don't start with that when I'm president, I have to come in and deal with this. One last mess, and then he can start. So yes, card carrying hope mongers need to face the realities of the next 4 years. Even if the government wing of the GOP is willing to do some constructive work with Democrats, Johnson's eagerness to bend to Musk and Trump shows how easy it will be to throw bipartisan projects overboard. And such modest gains will be of far less import than Trump's eagerness to use the legal system and the executive branch against his political foes and the news media. Defending against such abuses is job one. Here we go. Trump's eagerness to use the legal system. Who used the legal system? The Biden administration. Every time they charge Trump with something, you have to stop and just honestly say, and objectively, what did the Democrats do? Because they're so used to this pattern of projecting to Trump what they actually have done or are doing. Still, we can share the gumption of 38 Republicans who are willing to defy Trump's request for a debt ceiling increase by joining with the Democrats to kill Johnson's initial bill. They pushed the debt ceiling issue into next year. Sure, members of this larger right-wing group were not likely to campaign bipartisan cooperation. Yeah, these are the last Republicans that are actually going to work with the Democrats. Okay, they're standing up for their own reason. But they did show how division among Republicans could force the party to make concession to opponents, whether it wants it or not. And they're going to emphasize, everything is so partisan. He's going to emphasize the Republicans are split because these 38 Republicans. The Democrats are the ones who are split. I'm going to bring up Joe Manchin talking about this in a second. The Democrats are and Van Jones, right? Van Jones, they're seeing the Democrat Party forward to this. They're in shambles. It's a problematic. Their future is uncertain. They don't know what they're. Half of them are in denial. The other half are waking up. And if they got to get their act together. And EJ Dionne is going to act like the Republicans are in conflict with each other. Let's also celebrate one partially happy ending in the wee hours of Saturday morning, after the Senate approved the spending agreement averting a shutdown. Although some of the provisions to help children with cancer remain shamefully on the cutting floor, the Senate quickly passed the bill cleared earlier this year by the House to extend funding for the Pediatric Cancer Research Center, financing that had been eliminated in the Musk-Trump frenzy. It was a win for kids and a signal to the partisans of hope that we should never stop fighting. All right, I really want to stop here for a second. He brings this up at the end. So this cancer bill, a part of the bill that fund pediatric cancer, was thrown out by the Musk and Trump frenzy. But thank goodness it was brought back up and passed, as if the Democrats are going to fight for the righteous cause. Can we look at this a little differently? Why did it have to be part of that bill if it could be passed separately? And it was passed separately. So at the end of the day, isn't that better? Isn't it better to pass a spending bill that has less pork in it, and the good policies be voted on their own? And by the way, watch this. I'm going to click here. I bring it over here and bring up an article. Okay. And okay. Dropped. This is from the New York Times. It's linked. Dropped from the spending bill, cancer research and DC stadium measures revived for the Senate. It's two different issues, but we're going to focus on the cancer research. Two bills on pediatric cancer research and a football stadium site had been left out of the main spending package, but passed early Saturday as separate legislation. See, he's bringing this up to show that the Democrats are so righteous and Trump and Musk are so evil. Look at it this way. That's the wrong way to look at it. The bill was bloated. Musk speaks up. Trump not falling in line. Okay? No, Mike Johnson, he draws attention to it. Trump asks for a debt ceiling. He doesn't get it. Then Mike Johnson, new bill. Okay, we're going to get rid of a lot of the other spending, cut it down. Some good things fall out. And look what happens. After a tumultuous few days, President Biden on Saturday signed into law a spending bill that have been heavily trimmed down to 120 pages from 1,547. So there's all the fat. It trimmed it down. It had lost provisions targeting hidden fees on concert tickets and criminalized the publication of some deep fake pornography. But two of the measures that had been dropped from the final bill, which continued most government spending at the same level and included funding for disaster relief and aid to farmers, were salvaged as separate bills and passed by the Senate. I hope I'm making this clear. This is how it should be. If these policies and these separate bills are so important, well, then pass them separately. And look, that's what happened. These bills, which include funding for pediatrics cancer research and changes in the terms of the lease of a Washington, D.C. stadium, I'm going to ignore the stadium for now, cancer research, passed the House in the spring, allowing them to quickly clear the Senate. See, they already passed the House. Those bills already passed the House. So they just had to go to the Senate, okay? And they quickly cleared the Senate without amendments and through a voice vote that required unanimous consent, okay? Here's a rundown of how the two bills were revived at the last minute. When Speaker Mike Johnson jettisoned a bipartisan deal to avert a government shutdown after facing fierce criticism from the billionaire Elon Musk, right-wing Republicans and President-elect Donald J. Trump, Democrats decried the omission of four bills relating to pediatric cancer research and treatments from the revised funding bill. Republicans would rather cut taxes for billionaire donors. Oh, my goodness. Then fund research for children with cancer. A Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, the Democratic leader, said Friday on social media. But here it is. Watch. But in the end, the Senate on Friday renewed the Gabriella Miller Kids First Research Act, named after a 10-year-old girl who died from an inoperable brain tumor in 2013, in a unanimous vote. And of course, that's a great thing. In a unanimous vote. You see, things that are trying to change in Washington, they're trying to change the way they operate. That you don't just tie everything together. So, and then you say, oh, the cancer research for kids, you can't take that out. They're like, what about the 99 other things that we do want to take out? So by just slimming the bill down, you lost a lot of bad spending and some good spending. But because the way we're set up, just bring the good spending up as a separate issue and vote for it unanimous, and it's through. Isn't that great? This is a wonderful thing. EJ Dion is trying to make it like Musk didn't want this. Is Musk against funding for cancer research for children? No. But you can't continue to tie everything together. Streamline. Cut the fat. Bring those bills that really are important and can pass with unanimous vote. Why? Of course. Of course. The bill extended $12.6 million in annual cancer research funding through 2031, allowing the National Institutes for Health, which, by the way, would be run by Kennedy, to continue researching the biology of childhood cancer and structural birth defects. Okay. So it's, in summary, this is a classic liberal columnist, New York Times, Washington Post, who's framing this whole thing. And in summary, look, they want to plant the seeds that Elon Musk is really in charge, when it's actually the Biden administration Biden was not in charge, and there was a shadow administration controlling things. So they're trying to project it onto Trump. Second thing they're doing, they're trying to go after Trump's weak spot, which is his ego, and have Trump hear this language over and over again and bait him into getting upset and actually pushing Musk away a little bit. Okay. Third, he wants you to forget that we just lived through the last 30 years of a Washington, D.C. that doesn't function properly, that doesn't work across party lines for us. They work across party lines for themselves to pack this pork barrel spending into bills so they can bring that home and brag about it and get reelected so they can come in. Stay in Washington. Stay in what? Ping pong. Remember the ping pong analogy? Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. Nothing ever changed. That's why Bush and Cheney endorsed Harris, right? They don't want any change. Trump's the change. Musk is the change. And then they're going to say, well, for billionaire donors, so they would get taxed. Do you really believe in your heart that Musk stood up against this spending bill because he wanted something for himself? That we have to answer. I don't. You have to answer that yourself. All right. Let me stop sharing. And I'm going to go on to something next. Okay, let me see what time it is. All right, we're good. All right, this is interesting. Joe Manchin. Okay, let me bring up Joe Manchin here. And let's see. Okay. Joe Manchin. Okay, now Joe Manchin is a guy that if the Democrats would have kind of pulled him into the presidential race, I think he's a guy who could have caused some trouble. You know, because he's basically he's a moderate Democrat, right? He's basically like a liberal Republican at this point. West Virginia, West Virginia is one of like 3 or 4 states where it's like almost 70% voted for Trump in the last 2 elections. Okay, so it's like, you know, this is a very conservative state. Joe Manchin, Democrat, old school Democrat. Okay, so he left the Democratic Party, became an independent. And he's leaving office. He's going to be done. I think he was in there for about 15 years. And let's see, it'd be 16, I guess, two terms. Joe Manchin tortures Democrats on the way out the door. Okay, let's hear what he says. Okay, let's listen.
What caused Joe Manchin to divorce himself from the
Here's
Democratic
what I
Party?
told them. I said, you ought to figure out how you lost somebody like me. I was born as a Democrat because of my grandfather's love of FDR. I was a very strong Democrat because of my family's love of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I came through the whole iteration.
All right, let's stop. Okay, right away why? Because we've talked about this. The you know, I don't want to say old in the sense that like it's outdated. It's more like the Republican Party was what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spoke about in his speech when he told the world that he was going to join Trump. That the old Democrat was for the working class and the mine workers, right? And he's saying, you know, his grandfather with FDR and then the Kennedys, John JFK. That's the kind of Democrat he was.
And I was a Democrat in West Virginia, and it's always been a 75-80% plurality of registered Democrats. But there was a split. I was never in the liberal side of it. I was never in the establishment side. So I always had to fight my way through.
But what is is it a shift on social issues?
Yeah, the brand got so bad. Mm-hmm. The D brand has been so maligned from the standpoint of it's toxic. And the D brand is basically this. You know, I've told him, I said, first of all, as an American and as someone in Senate, and I'm going to take the Constitution, oath of the Constitution that I take very, 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 very seriously. I'm going to help every human being pursue the happiness life in their life, pursuit of happiness. I don't care who they are. I don't care what color. I don't care any of the things, who they love and what. Do it, and that's you. And I'm going to make sure you have that opportunity and right to live your life. Just don't make your life, if it might be on the extremes or in the minority, a few, make me believe that's the norm. Or make.
All right. See what he's saying? So he's in the center. He grew up in a very conservative state, but Democrat. Because you got to, again, it's hard for us to remember, but, or even some of us are not even old enough, right? The Democrats, they were the union workers, the workers. Okay. So West Virginia is a great example of a conservative state that had Democrats. So Manchin is a Democrat. So how could West Virginia have a Democrat? Well, because it was this like a remnant of this tradition. Okay. Now he leaves the party, and you see what he's saying? He wants to represent everybody. He is in the center. I think Joe Manchin's a good guy. You know, there were some things he did toward the end there, but I think he was just so he was trying to stay a Democrat, and it was so hard, and he had to say and do some things toward right before he left the party that were questionable. But overall, I think he's a good guy, and I believe what he's saying. And he's saying, look, you want, but you can't. It's toxic. You can't take this very, very, very small minority. And what's he talking about? The extreme social issues, and force them upon the entire country, the party and the entire country. And it's just too much.
Me and my family believe, or my children believe, or this or that. No, I will protect you. Just don't try to mainstream it. And the Democratic Party, the Washington Democrats, have tried to mainstream the extreme.
There it is. Tried to mainstream the extreme. Let me stop sharing there. They tried to mainstream the extreme. That's a great expression, right? He said, look, and he's showing like, I'll protect you. I'll defend your rights to it, your pursuit of happiness, but don't mainstream, right? You can't make this mainstream. This is not, it's our culture. I mean, Joe Manchin, how could you compare Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders or AOC? Okay, and that's why he's left. That's the problem. And that brings us to the really that deep problem that Van Jones is talking about with the Democrat. What do they do now? You're losing the good ones. The good ones are retiring or leaving. All right. So I'm going to one more issue. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play Hillsdale for a second. It's a great online course that they have. And let me bring it up here. Let me see. Hillsdale. It's on C.S. Lewis. So let me play it out. Give me a 2-minute break. Okay. Because I need a break. And then I'll be back. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Let's bring it up here. And let's play it. Okay.
His stories are like nets in which you catch for a moment something ineffable, something almost incommunicable. But he has communicated it.
In Greek, there are 4 words for love.
C.S. Lewis was just a master of language. He knew how to point beyond words. The great thing about Lewis was that he was creative and imaginative, as well as being highly intellectual and analytical. He's so skillful at expressing the inexpressible. What you'll get in this course is an insight into how Lewis understood Christianity and wrote about it, both in his non-fiction and his fiction. He knows what it is like to have been an atheist, been an unbeliever, been a skeptic, and he knows what it's like to have come to faith. Lewis had thought his way into all corners of the Christian faith: pain, joy, love, miracles, prayer, heaven, hell. And we're going to cover the whole gamut of experience. That's the great thing about Lewis's presentation of the faith. He makes it live, he makes it sing, he makes it move, he gives it color. That, I think, is one of the things that people so love about Lewis. They feel they're not just reading books, they're reading life, and life with a capital L.
C.S. Lewis explained to the world in beautiful English, in common sense language, why Christianity is both good and plausible.
When you come to Lewis's writings, it's like you've touched a live wire. You've suddenly got an electric shock, because here's someone who really believes it and manages to communicate how much it means to him. I'm Michael Ward. This is C.S. Lewis on Christianity. Let's begin.
All right. So another great message from Hillsdale. So many great online courses, right? C.S. Lewis. If you're interested in Christianity and you want to hear from a different perspective, not from a preachy pulpit, but from a great writer, and why how C.S. Lewis was able to basically just crystallize it into a way that it really helped a lot of people come to Christianity. Anyway, okay, I want to jump into this issue. Okay, we're going to go back to the NCAA. Okay, now the other day we spoke about how the leader of the NCAA was defending this idea that men can go into women's locker rooms, men that are saying that they're women going into women's locker rooms. And this is part of the culture battle here. And this is an interesting approach. So Ken Paxton sues NCAA over transgender athletes' participation in women's college sports. So this is part of the battle. They're going to find different ways to fight this, and this is one. The Attorney General is accusing the organization of misleading fans by allowing transgender college athletes in women's sports, and this is smart. They're approaching it from different ways. You're going to say, first, appeal to the public, okay, but also, is this? Are you actually? Are you being fair to your fans? Are you making money off something that's really not advertised the way properly? Okay, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said Sunday he sued the National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA, accusing the organization of misleading college sports fans by allowing transgender women to participate in events marketed as women's competitions. So smart, right? NCAA, they want to play this game, fine. Well, then you're marketing these sports. People are paying money, TV, tickets, merchandise for women's sports. Is that what you're giving the customer? Paxton said the NCAA violated the Texas Deceptive Trade Practices Act by deceiving fans who want to support sporting events that only include athletes whose female sex was assigned at birth. Paxton also accused the NCAA of misleading consumers by not identifying which athletes are transgender and of jeopardizing the safety and well-being of women by allowing transgender athletes to participate in its sporting events. Radical gender theory has no place in college sports, Paxton said in a news release Sunday. I'm not going to go further into it, but it's important for us to stay on top of this, to see how there's different approaches, because this issue is so fundamental in our cultural health. And look at that. Isn't that true? I mean, is it? I don't know. Is it deceptive? I think it is. You're deceiving fans who want to support sporting events that include only athletes whose female sex was. So you want to support female sports. You want to go see a women's basketball game, and there's a man or male swimmer. Is that deceptive? Also, this is interesting. Paxton also accused the NCAA of misleading consumers by not identifying which athletes are transgender. That's a great point. I think if any of you are dealing with this, or potentially dealing with this at any of your kids' sports, or you're a coach, and sometimes we just don't know. And what are you supposed to do? Are you going to go up and ask? Are you going to, or is it right to assume? What if you're wrong? It's a terrible thing. So this ambiguity is another sign of the lack of health of the situation. It's not a healthy situation. It's distorted. Okay, and that really not identified. The fans should know, if you're going to allow a biological man to play in a women's sport, and you're sanctioning the sport, and of course there's money involved, well, then the fans should be identified. We should know, because it's not fair to the fans. It's deceptive, and it's also not fair in the moral sense that you don't know. So it's like, I have a feeling that that's a guy. I don't know. Wait, what? I don't want to say that. That's not nice. What if it's not? But you see, why should it be put? It's just like the locker room issue. Well, the true female athletes can just go somewhere else, use a different. That's not up to them. It's not their burden. It's not for the real female to have to go find a different shower. And it's just like this. It's not on the burden of the fan to wonder which one is a guy. Is it a guy? Is it? It's not a. And it's what Manchin. It's tied together with Manchin. See how all this stuff flows? You're trying to mainstream the extreme. It's not the regular mainstream female athlete's problem. It's not the regular mainstream college women's sports spectators' problem. It shouldn't be anybody's problem. But if someone's going to be inconvenienced, or it should be the tiny sliver that's full, and that's assuming they're even allowed to participate in sports. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to participate at all. But if they are going to participate, they shouldn't be going into women's locker rooms, and fans should know. Okay, next issue. Let's stop this. All right. I'm on a roll here today, huh? It's good. All right, good. Christmas. You know what I'm going to go into? I'm going to go into this. I'm going to do Biden. So Biden did something here. Okay. Biden did something. You're going to be shocked when I say. Ready? And maybe, I don't know. Let's see how you guys feel about this. I agree with Biden on something. Biden commutes sentences of 37 federal death row prisoners. I'm not really for the death penalty, man. I get it. I get the idea. I get it. This person who's guilty beyond any doubt has killed somebody. It's done heinous crimes, and the crime. Do the crime, you gotta do the time, right? And if that time, and some people think the time should be the death penalty. I don't know. I as a Catholic, as a Christian, I'm just not sure about taking someone's life. I'm not sure. In self-defense, in the heat of the moment, the people run in, the incident's still going on, and the police shoot and kill the guy. Okay, different story. But like captured, trial, sentenced, out of harm, the person's removed from the public, from society. And this is, of course, the victims' families, and justice, of course, terrible. And if it was, God, right? We can't even think about these things, right? It's like children cancer. Who wants to think it's so harmful? It hurts you, right? And the idea of people be horrible, horrendous crimes, and then you say you're defending this. No, it's never about defending the inmate. Okay, it's about who are we? God will deal with that, man. On this case, I think I'm okay with saying God will deal with that. God will deal with it with them. But and I think we're a wealthy enough nation that we can afford to lock them away for the rest of their lives. But the whole idea of working out your redemption in that jail cell and dealing with God directly, that person on their own. And you hear it, sometimes from victims' families, some want to see the execution, some don't. They don't think it's going to do any good. I think on this one, it's also interesting as a president leaving, right? I mean, there's so much negative stuff about Biden, and I have negative stuff I put out today, I could put out later. But on this one, just on the human side of being a president and having this ability to do this before you leave, it's really a heavy situation, right? You have the power to commute. So he doesn't commute. He didn't pardon them. He just has the details, right? What publication is this? NPR, and this is Deepa Shivaram. Okay. President Biden uses clemency authority Monday to commute the sentences of 37 of the 40 men on federal death row to life without parole in one of the most significant moves taken against capital punishment in recent presidential history. Biden did not commute the sentences of 3 who were involved in cases of terrorism or hate-fueled mass murder, including Robert Bowers, convicted for the 2018 mass shooting at Pittsburgh synagogue. Horrible. That was just a horrible event. Dylan Roof convicted for the 2015 mass shooting at a black church in South Carolina. I remember that. It was terrible. It's terrible. And Jokar Sharznev, excuse me, I don't know how his name, convicted of the 2003 the Boston Marathon bomber. So those three, he did not commute. In a statement, the president said the commutations are in line with the 2021 moratorium his administration imposed on federal executions. This is his quote. Make no mistake, I condemn these murderers, grieve for their victims of their despicable acts, and ache for all the families who have suffered unimaginable and irrepressible loss, Biden said. Citing his experience as a public defender and an elected official, Biden added, I am more convinced than ever that we must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level. He also hinted that possible action by the Trump administration was part of his motivation. In good conscience, I cannot stand back and let the new administration resume executions that I halted. Among those whose sentences were commuted are former New Orleans police officer Len Davis, who was convicted of hiring a hitman to kill a woman who filed a complaint against him. That's terrible. Brandon Council, who was convicted of killing 2 women during a bank robbery and told agents that demons were controlling people's minds. And Billy Jerome Allen, who was convicted for the involvement in a bank robbery but waged a public campaign for his innocence. All right. So basically, here we are. And one other paragraph here. Advocates, religious leaders, and former prison officials had been urging Biden to take this step with his pardon power, including Pope Francis, who weighed in from St. Peter's on December 8th. All right. I'm going to leave it there. We have to be objective and fair. Obviously, I'm a huge critic of Biden administration and just about everything Biden has done. I think it's interesting for us to imagine ourselves in that situation where you have that power. Who has that power, right? And he's leaving. He's an old man. He's approaching, at that age. We're all of us approaching the end of our lives. We're moving that way when you're 80 years old or whatever he is. It's probably closer than when you're 50 or 40, and at least statistically. And it's interesting to stop and be like, what? Wow. I think I might do the same. I don't know about the death penalty. I can't, I'm just not, my wife and I talk about this. It's one issue that I think I would have to let that go. What refrain in my mind about this issue, it's about God, them and God. It's them and God, that person and God. And it's not going to bring back the person that was killed or the horrible nature of whatever crime they're convicted of. It's not going to, I don't know, it may give the family some peace. I'm not sure. I'm not going to judge that either. I'm going to leave it. I just thought I wanted to bring it up. It is tomorrow's Christmas Eve and a time of hope and forgiveness and peace. And yet, if it was my family, I don't know how I'd feel, if my member of my family was a victim of a horrendous crime and that person's on death row, would I want them? I hope in my heart that I could be a good enough, I don't know, because it sounds like I'm being judgmental. I'm going to drop it. Obviously, you can tell I'm not sure how to talk about this. When I saw it this morning, my initial instinct was like, yeah, I get it. And I talked to my wife a little bit, and she's like, we both feel. So I wanted to bring it up. Okay, let me drop that. And next issue. Yeah, this one's a good one. Okay, this is from a. Let's see. Hold on a second. Where'd it go? Okay. All right. Now, a while back, I've referenced a few times a show that we did called Badass Heroes. And the writer of that article was Itsu Diaz. Okay. Now, here's the tablet. If you watch the show, we talk about the tablet quite often. I like the tablet. It's a good publication. It's a Jewish magazine that's become, now it's not just about Jewish life, but they have a lot of great articles. And we covered one the other day about Obama. And they're long articles and they're good articles and they teach us a lot. I'm just going to I'm just going to summarize this and then we'll probably get going. We're almost at an hour already. Okay, the tablet. News and politics. Europe, it's good. Again, this is important for the culture. And as we go into Christmas, we have to be aware of the world situation. Europe is canceling Christmas. Moves in France, Spain, and the United Kingdom and Germany are a worrying sign of the West's renunciation of its Judeo-Christian identity. By Itsu Diaz. Okay, I like Mr. Diaz. I think he does a really nice job. All right, so here we go. Christmas is a holiday of peace and goodwill. Families come together. Angry friends forgive each other. Everyone celebrates with a combination of happiness, champagne, and melancholy, and all those things that we see in Frank Capra movies, right? It's a Wonderful Life. I watched it the other day with my daughter. I got to say, she was at first was like, oh, what's this old black and white movie? But when you start watching it, you get glued. Even just in terms of the cinema, the directing and the way they move the story along. Right. It's interesting too, because there's that scene in the high school and there's the dancing and they're at the high school graduation party or something. And it's congratulations. I think it was the class of 1926. And I was like, wow, a couple of years, maybe 26 or 28. Well, in a few years, it'll be 100 years. It's crazy, right? Crazy what 100 years is. All right. It is difficult for anyone of any religion or even an agnostic to be offended by this celebration. But what I find puzzling is that celebrating the holiday with lights and Christmas motifs is now becoming frowned upon, not as one might expect in Karachi or Mogadishu, but in the heart of old Europe. The gradual cancellation of Christmas in countries such as France, Spain, the United Kingdom, and Germany. It's crazy too, like France and Spain. Such solid Catholic Christian countries, you know. The United Kingdom of Germany is perhaps the most worrying symptom of the West's renunciation of its Judeo-Christian cultural identity. We speak about this. We are a Judeo-Christian culture. Okay? A Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian, you know, that's just the way it is. It's happening at all levels, from governments and city councils to schools and associations. As ever, it's the secularists of the socialist left behind the facade of inclusivity who are the most determined to cancel Christmas, which for centuries has been celebrated in style throughout the continent. Indeed, it has been celebrated as a festivity of the union, not segregation between different peoples. What Ronald Reagan explained simply in his own unique way, that Christmas is a holiday that we celebrate not as individuals nor as a nation, but as a human family, now appears entirely incomprehensible. Here's a couple of examples. Let's look at some examples of what is happening in Europe. In November, the head teacher of the Worwell Primary School in Andover, England, informed parents that there would be no reference to Christmas in the school's traditional festive pantomime in order to be inclusive. So in order to be inclusive, there'll be no Christmas. Do you see the madness? Since Christmas songs were included in the performance, and some parents usually prevent their children from attending on religious grounds, can you imagine preventing your kid from attending because they sang Christmas songs? The head teacher wrote, "We have requested that the show contain no reference to Christmas." According to the 2021 census, 62.4 of Andover's then 50,887 residents identified as Christian, compared with 0.6 who are Muslim. So 62, almost 62.5% of their population identified as Christian, and they can't have Christmas songs. The trend of canceling Christmas in European schools didn't start this year. It simply spread from one December to the next like an oil slick at sea. The first major controversy occurred in 2011 when kindergartens and schools in Denmark canceled their traditional Christmas celebrations so as not to offend Muslims, who are already the second largest religion in the country and who are densely concentrated in ghettos in large cities. France, the European country with the most immigrants of Arab origin, has also been de-Christianizing Christmas for years. After the jihadist attacks against a Christmas market in Strasbourg in 2018, far from redoubling the defense of freedom and the pride in their Christian traditions, political leaders intensified the secularist drift. And this year, there are already a majority of French cities who authorities have decided to eliminate Christmas referencing and Christmas celebrations. Check this out. Listen, sometimes going to ridiculous extremes. Nantes is now celebrating its winter journey. whatever that means. Angers is observing winter suns. Bordeaux is touting Bordeaux in festivities. And St. Denis is holding a Christmas vacation called Destination Beautiful Winter, while its mayor celebrates the holiday by shouting, Happy Winter! The official festive brochure of this French community includes puppets, fire eaters, craft workshops for children, and no iconic Christian Christmas imagery. France. St. Louis, right? The king was a saint. The main problem of the West cultural and identity decadence lies not so much in external aggressors as in internal betrayals and renunciations. In France, the madness was best captured, ironically, by a French Muslim. This is a really great paragraph. In France, the madness was best captured, ironically, by a French Muslim delivery man in a video that went viral. In it, he relayed how, on one of his deliveries this year, he noticed that Christmas decorations and nativity scenes were absent at a town hall in the countryside. The mayor told him that the state had sent out instructions that there should be no decorations in city halls, which the Muslim found scandalous. Our friends, this is him, this is the delivery man, the Muslim delivery man. Our friends, the Christians, our brothers, they are in a Christian country. But no, they have the right to decorate their town hall for their holiday. Mangers don't bother me. Politicians, you're going to kill France. You're going to kill Christians. It's crazy, the man exclaimed. So leave it to the ordinary man on the street. Right? Here's the Muslim delivery man saying it's crazy. I'm not offended by a manger. By the way, Muslims recognize Jesus. They don't recognize him as the Son of God. They recognize him as a great prophet. In Spain, things are not much better. Okay, they go on and on, but that's just let's be aware of what's going on. It's a great article. So go to the tablet, and again, the title of it is. You can look it up yourself here. Europe is canceling Christmas. All right. I'm going to finish with a little blog reading, okay? Let me finish up here. And this blog reading I like because it reminds me of my grandma, okay? And it's a great time when we're in Christmas and as we go to Christmas celebrations. And my daughter yesterday was making cookies with her Nonna, okay? The Italian cookies with Nonna. There's my blog. There's my little magi, okay? There I am. That's me. I got to grow a beard. All right. Mary's mother. So this is what I'm going to finish with. Okay. Mary's mother. Here we go. Mary's mother was St. Anne. Okay. And this is about grandmas. And if you're a grandma, I love you. I love my grandma. I had two wonderful grandmothers, and they're both gone to God now. And I miss them. Grandma Parker and Grandma Hain. Wonderful. Very different. Very different women, but both wonderful. I miss him. Okay. Mary's mother. Look at that great photo. Look at that great painting, right? By Dora. Virgin and child with St. Anne. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful how every artist makes Mary and whatever the biblical scene into their own culture. There's the close of Dora's time, right? The German. All right, here we go. Christmas is a time for grandmothers. They bake and cook and decorate. Their homes become mini North Poles, diplomatic outposts of Santa's castle. At its core, Christmas is, of course, all about Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, all about the Holy Family. The Holy Family is an extended family, though, and it doesn't stop at grandmothers and grandfathers, aunts and uncles, or even cousins and distant cousins. Just ask Saints Joachim and Anne, Zachariah and Elizabeth, or John the Baptist, not to mention all the unknown relatives whom the child Jesus surely encountered throughout his Galilean days. Ask any one of them about the far-reaching ripple effects of family grace. Those touched by Jesus have a tendency to appear bigger than life. Look at Santa Claus. Most of us are aware that he is really St. Nick. But do we stop to wonder who Mrs. Claus really is? I think she's St. Anne. After all, Mrs. Claus is seen as everyone's grandmother, especially when it comes to holiday cheer. But when it comes to truly celebrating the birth of Jesus, It is through St. Anne that we approach the gates of Christ's nativity. Mary's mother holds a special key. She is the first among grandmas, first among those who pinch chubby cheeks, who pass along one more extra sugary treat. St. Anne, help us. Speak to us. Show us how to be grandparents to all those around us, especially the little ones. Stir up the spirit of Advent. Bake away the holiday blues. Cook up a dish of Christmas love that only your hearth can serve. Come one, come all to the home of St. Anne. Come with me to Grandma's house for a holiday visit. Taste and see. Enter her kitchen where the hot chocolate can always fit a little more whipped cream, where you hear the constant refrain, eat, eat, eat. At Grandma's, your plate is never empty. Her table is continually set. She always sees Jesus as having just been born. She is always wrapping him up tightly in swaddling clothes. It is simply grand. To Grandma, Jesus is always an innocent child, and she can't help but see him deep within both you and me. I really like this stuff. I really love thinking about Christmas. I like reflecting on Mary and Joseph and now St. Anne. And look at that great painting. And I think that's how I'll stop today. Meditate on that image of the grandmother and the young Mary and the infant Jesus asleep. Right? Beautiful. All right. I love you guys. It's been a good run. And always enjoy this. Please comment, subscribe, like, share. Please spread the word. Participate. Send me articles, send me ideas, topics, anything, cultural topics. We're working on it. Get better and better each day. I'll probably see you tomorrow. Either way, enjoy this Advent. Enjoy it. Here it comes. The waitings. Trim that tree, right? Bake some cookies. If your grandmother's around, you give her a big kiss and hug. And anybody else's grandma. All right. I love you. Be good. I'll talk to you soon.